Who's actually going to get the most out of a dual-zone wine and beverage fridge, and who should just keep their regular kitchen cooler? Is the Yeego 24-inch model worth the price tag for someone who just wants a place to chill a few bottles on the weekend, or does it truly shine for a small home bar that needs to keep wine at cellar temps while also stocking a six-pack of craft beers? If you're on the fence, you're not alone. Most people worry about overinvesting in a gadget that ends up sitting half empty. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the core dilemma people face. You either buy a single-zone cooler and compromise on temperature, or you shell out for a more expensive built-in wine cellar that takes up an entire wall. The Yeego tries to sit right in the middle, offering two independent temperature zones behind a double-glass door. That sounds great on paper, but the real question is whether those zones actually stay separate when you're loading up a mix of reds, whites, and a case of summer ales. From the handful of reviews I could find, most owners are using the fridge in three typical ways. First, a wine-only setup. People with a modest collection of 20-ish bottles who want their reds at 55°F and whites a few degrees cooler. Second, a home bar arrangement, where the bottom shelf holds six-packs or cans while the upper half stores sparkling wines that need a gentle chill. Third, an office or apartment scenario, where the unit lives on a countertop or under a counter and becomes a dual-purpose drink station for after-work unwindings. If you fit into the first scenario, the Yeego is probably a win. The top zone can be tuned down to about 40°F, comfortably low for most reds, while the bottom zone can sit at 55-60°F for whites and Ross. The dual-zone control is straightforward: a single dial for each compartment, so you don't need a smartphone app or a complicated calibration routine. Users have mentioned that the temperature settles within a few hours after a door opening, which is pretty decent for a compact compressor system. That means you can pop in a new bottle of Pinot Noir at dinner and have it reach the right temp by the time the guests arrive. Now, if you're dreaming of a home bar that doubles as a mini kegerator, the Yeego's 3672 can capacity becomes the real selling point. That range translates to roughly 60 standard 12-ounce cans, so you could stock a mix of IPAs, lagers, and sodas without crowding the fridge. The bottom compartment's ability to run a few degrees warmer than the top is perfect for keeping a fresh six-pack of craft beer at a casual 45-50°F, while the wine on top enjoys that cellar vibe. Real-world users have reported that the can racks are adjustable enough to accommodate both tall bottles and slim cans, so you're not forced into a one-size-fits-all layout. On the flip side, the Yeego isn't the best fit for a serious collector who needs precise humidity control, or for anyone who wants a giant storage volume. The 24-inch width limits you to about 20 standard wine bottles, which is fine for casual drinkers, but might feel cramped if you've been building a cellar over the years. There's no built-in humidity sensor, so if you keep corked bottles for long periods you'll need to monitor them separately. Also, the dual-zone system shares the same compressor, meaning that heavy use like constantly opening the door to grab a beer can cause the unit to cycle more often, leading to a slightly louder operation. In a quiet apartment, that faint hum might be noticeable, but most users say it's not disruptive. Another practical consideration is installation. The Yeego ships with a double-glass door that can be mounted either as a freestanding unit or built into a countertop. The instructions are fairly clear, and the door hinges are sturdy enough to handle daily use. However, the unit does need a dedicated 120V outlet and about 5 inches of clearance behind it for proper airflow. If you're planning to tuck it under a kitchen counter, make sure the cabinet opening is at least 24 inches wide and that there's room for the rear vent. Forgetting about that clearance is a common snag. People end up with a unit that runs hotter than it should, which can shorten the compressor's lifespan. One subtle trade-off that's easy to overlook is the impact on your electricity bill. A compressor-cooled fridge of this size typically draws around 150,200 watts while running, and because the dual zones can be set to different temps, the lower zone may run a bit longer to maintain a cooler environment. If you're an energy-conscious buyer, You might ask whether a thermoelectric cooler would be more efficient. The answer is that the Yeego's compressor provides faster cooling and better temperature stability than a thermoelectric unit, especially when you're dealing with many cans that generate more heat as they warm. So if you value quick cool down over marginal energy savings, the Yeego's design makes sense. Let's talk durability for A.